If you just joined us, this is The Press. We're reaching you live from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we'll go straight to analyze on the stories that we read out to you. We have two guests here on the show today. We have two analysts. First, we have Dr. Barnabas Suleiman. He is a political sociologist. It's good to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And then we have Richard Oriri. He is a journalist, and he's a political journalist and politician. It's good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Great. All right, so let's start with you, Dr. Barnabas. January 31st deadline for old Naira notes. CBN bows to pressure. And then Nigerian pilot says over 75% of 2.7 trillion Naira held outside banking systems recovered. Recall that before all of this Naira swap and then the Naira redesign, you have the central bank governor saying that you have 80% of Naira of the money in circulation, they are unbanked, so they're trying to retrieve them back, but now they've been able to retrieve 75%, have 2.5% outside there. So let's get your thought on this, because I know that you're also an economist. Is there any economic implication to all of this? Now they say they're trying to curb insecurity. That's another thing that they said before they brought up the policy. You're trying to curb insecurity, but a few days ago we read a report saying that the bandits are asking for 500 million Naira for this new Naira note. They don't want to collect the old Naira note again. So it means that somehow that policy was not able to curb insecurity. And then they also said they want the monies to return back to the banks. So somehow you still have some of this money outside the bank. So were we even able to resolve anything at all?
Yeah, I think that it was a good policy, even though people have questioned the timing. But if you had about 2-point-something trillion Naira in the system, and then the banks only have access to 500 billion, and about 2.7 trillion Naira are in the homes of Nigerians, of course that's going to cause inflation. And so the CBN, came out with the decision to say they're going to change the Naira notes. I think it was a good idea, but the timing was questioned, and Nigerians demanded that there should be an extension of the dates, agreeably, because the new notes were also very scarce, and I think the 10 days should be enough for those who still have the monies in their houses to return them to the bank. What the CBN has done, in my own view, is good for the economy.
So you actually see this as the right step in the right direction, because Guardian newspaper says new Naira notes and fuel crisis compounds to Nigerians' woes. And still on that Guardian newspaper, you have, coming from the Labour leader, says you are killing Nigerians in installment. What are your response to this? Yes,
when people don't have access to money, the new Naira notes now, in fact, 2 days before, tomorrow is 31st, 3 days before the deadline, Nigerians were already rejecting the old Naira notes.
So that's not for some people. Some even said they still could not spend the new Naira note in some places.
No, they couldn't access it, not that they couldn't spend it.
I have someone who said she was trying to pay for what she bought, and then the woman refused to collect the new Naira.
Well, maybe in the rural areas. But the fact is that there's still the problem of not accessing the new Naira notes. People are not collecting the old Naira note, and so the whole thing is like we're operating a moneyless economy. People even talking about the possibility of doing trade by barter. So I think that the operationalization of that policy was poorly executed, and that's why we encountered this problem. We hope that within the next 11 days, the CBN will be able to make the monies available to banks. The banks should be honest and transparent enough in how those monies are disbursed or given to people who come to withdraw their monies, and then let politicians also, disabuse their minds from hoping to grab the monies in preparation for elections, because that's the speculations that we have they are responsible for the problems that we have in our economy,
but
particularly with respect to money.
February 10th to February 25th, that's isn't that enough window for anyone to do anything, especially politicians, like you said?
No. I mean, if you know the behaviors of our voters, you are not going to give them money to vote in 10 days' time. Politicians take the monies to the polling units, and then the voters will have to sell their votes there. That's if we are looking at the angle of not using money for the elections, as some politicians have actually adduced as being the reason for the change of currency. So I think that the 10 days window that has been opened is to allow those who said they cannot access the new Naira notes to have the opportunity of CBN giving the notes to the banks so that they can access it, and also those who have the monies buried in their sockaways and their rooms can bring the monies out, because the responsibility of the CBN is to ensure that the money that is available to the public is controlled. So that monetary policy that the CBN has constitutional responsibility to execute, that's what they are trying to live up to. It's unfortunate that it's coming too late, and it's coming at a time where politicians need so much Naira. But I hope that at the end of it all, it will be able to address the problem of vote buying in our country, and that people who emerge as leaders at all levels are people who actually deserve to provide leadership to the Nigerian people, not the money bags that we have around.
I couldn't agree less with you. All right, let's come to you, Richard Oriri. With this 10 days window, and then before now, CBN says we refuse to bow to pressure, no matter what. The 31st, that deadline still stands. Did you actually see that yesterday report saying that CBN finally decides to bow to pressure? Did you see that coming?
Very, very, very clear. It was very clear, so clear that CBN would definitely bow to pressure. In the first instance, I blame the whole problem that we are facing today in terms of this new redesign of a Nigerian currency on the CBN, because yes, I blame the whole issue on them, the policy framers. With the major problem we are having in Nigeria basically is policy execution. We have good policy makers, but in framing these policies, putting the general public in mind is always a difficult thing for them to do. CBN governor and his team, they are supposed to, in the first instance, put it in their mind that redesigning this currency at this time, and the time that they came out to announce to Nigerians that they are redesigning the currency, and that they are between so time and so time, the new Naira note will be circulated, while the old Naira notes will be retrieved back from the economy. They should equally know from the other angle again that majority of Nigerians, about 60 to 70% of Nigerians, they don't have bank accounts. If you go to our rural communities, the farmers, they don't even know what bank is all about. Majority, if not now, that voters registration has voters enlightenment in the terms of political issue, yes, has come to play. Majority of Nigerians don't even have means of identification that they will use to even have account. It's of recent that some farmers are beginning to even open account. Most Nigerians, especially the farmers, they have this old Naira note in their houses. Like in my community, I know about 5 or 7 elders who are real farmers, but they have this old box, this like ancient box that our fathers used in the tax collection in those days.
Okay.
They keep their money inside there. They don't have need to go to the bank.
Oh, wow.
And CBN, ordinarily, they are supposed to create avenue where those Nigerians who don't have a bank account, the CBN will at least open one office in the 774 local governments in Nigeria. That is in terms of implementation of this policy. They should have opened 174 offices nationwide, where CBN officials will go with this new Naira note. Then farmers from the various communities will come to the local government headquarters to change this money, those of them who don't have bank account. But as it is now, you see, was it 2 days or 3 days ago, Kano State Governor went to Naira to meet with the president. And he took the complaint from his constituency to the president. His constituency is Kano. And he took the complaint from his people to president. Now,
they suspended visits at the
beside
time.
him, there are some. There was one House of Rep member from Borno State who says in most of the local governments in Borno, there are no banks in most of these local government areas, and the farmers and those Nigerians living in those areas with this old Naira note, they don't have where to even change this money, and the only avenue to change this old currency is the bank. So that is another thing that is making it so difficult for Nigerians. So in that aspect, for the fact that they know that the timing was wrong, just from what the doctor said, the timing was wrong in the area of corruption. In the area of corruption, if you go to what the bank, this CBN is doing currently now, you will see that they are trying to fight corruption, putting politicians as an example. That politicians will use Naira to buy votes. And then the
politicians are the ones that are now complaining.
Now banks, they are the ones now even selling the new Naira notes
to the politicians.
To the politicians.
Oh wow. Okay.
Poor Nigerians don't even have access to it. If you go to ATM stand now, you will not even see
old notes.
New notes on it.
Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from, please. Okay, I think we lost him. All right, please land on your thoughts.
So the bank, the bank officials, they are even the one being involved in the corruption. The corruption that they were telling Nigerians, deceiving Nigerians that they are doing this in order to curb corruption in this forthcoming election.
So is it
bankers are now selling the new Naira note to these same politicians, and the money, the new Naira notes, they are not available even in our ATMs.
So does it actually,
if you go to
sorry, I have to butt in there. So does it actually mean that like the Central Bank of Nigeria governor was saying that the banks should ensure that they must have the new Naira notes? So does it mean that the central bank has disbursed this money to the banks, the commercial banks, but they decided to hold it?
That is even what I was even saying. All the GMDs, bank manager, all the is not it's GMD now. All the MDs of the different banks in the country, they will have meeting with CBN, and in this meeting, that is where they will disburse this new Naira note to the different banks, because that is the only avenue they will use in circulating this new Naira note. And as they are using that avenue in circulating this new Naira note, the ones made available to the banks, the bankers now, they are the one now handling this new Naira note, not basically the CBN. Because most of these bankers, they have politicians who are their friends, who bounce in their bank. You understand? Who save their money in their bank. And in saving their money in their bank, any politician, like one of my friends, he called the other day to ask if I have any banker, any of my friends in any of the banks that can make available at least 3 million naira to enable him use for one of the political programs you want to embark on. I called one of my friends in UBA. He said they just finished a meeting with the CBN that the thing is so hard. It's so hard that going to the bank, you will not. The ones available, are old ones. The new ones, they are not available, and the new ones that they are giving to the banks, they are equally selling it out to senior citizens who have access to make call to the managers of the banks, and the poor Nigerians who will not have that access, that opportunity of calling bank managers, because if you are keeping so much money in the bank, if you demand for something from the bank manager, there is no how he will not reach out to you in giving you that service, to enable just for you not to withdraw all your money from the bank and make them powerless at the end. Right. So in that case, there's so much corruption in the circulation of this new Naira note in the country, and CBN governor knew quite well that this will come up.
So, so in a nutshell, are you actually saying that the aim of fighting politicians, ensuring that
defeated?
It has been defeated.
Defeated completely. It has been defeated because the bankers are coming from
the contention.
They are the one now that Nigerians are seen as the most corrupt people, because even the politicians, they are not even seeing the money now. That most politicians are even using phone now to do transfer.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Good morning, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
All right, tell us your name and where you're calling us from, very quickly.
Collins from Otukpo State.
All right, Collins from Otukpo Benue State. Go ahead, you have less than 60 seconds.
Like the commentary people are analyzing now. You see, I happen to see that the CBN governor has made a very drastic mistake. In everything in life, before you achieve success, there must be pains, even before God. When you want God to do certain things for you, there are sacrifices you make, either in fasting or in seed sowing. Like now, we know quite okay that this issue might hurt so many Nigerians. But notwithstanding, at the end, we appreciate what exactly the president and the central bank governor has brought up. There are so much money in stock at home as we are talking now. Like last year, towards the end of last year, the governor was like trying to say he wants to pay salaries in cash. It was through EFCC and so many other agencies.
All right.
That are ready to fast track everything that he wants to do, that he stopped paying that money. And up to date, he has not paid salary.
All right.
There are so much money in stock at home in most of these politicians that they want to use to buy this election. So, reversing their statement and giving more dates that they extend it to 10th of February. I mean, they have so many chances to do so many things.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Collins.
So, that 10 days they added to it has caused so many havoc to win the masses. They might have taken the decision to pay to go to some of it, and at the end we are happy because to say yes, we have arrived.
Thank you so much, Collins, for your contribution. All right, before we leave this story, very quickly, before we leave that report, because Richard talked about his uncle and then some other people who don't even believe in banks at all, and then we still complain about information. These informations were not given. The people were not educated, sensitized enough before this policy came forth. So is it actually possible for you to have people who maybe the central bank or banks can actually get people who can just help go to those rural areas, the suburbs, the hinterlands, and then help people quickly open accounts, and then so they can put this money in, because they are the ones that are even going to be affected the more, people in the rural areas, like you said.
Yes, but the central bank governor said yesterday that they've discharged their staff to those rural areas with monies so that they can get 20,000, 10,000, but that now some people using their discretion have increased it to 15 to 20,000. I think that I am of the view that politicians have actually been hit by this policy to the extent that, monies are not flying around. Well, except that my brother here said they use transfer now. But those voters, majority of them don't have banks, like he said. So how are you going to transfer money to them? So I think that it's not a perfect system. The timing was wrong. I mean, they should have done this long ago. And then I also think that the way our money is being carried out, particularly by the banks, because they have friends who are politicians and they have to get the money to them. Nigerians are suffering. So the CBN must come hard on the banks and ensure that monies that are meant to go to Nigerians don't go to a few politicians who want to use the money for elections, especially that they are selling it, because they're not giving them. What we hear now is that they sell the new Naira notes.
Yes, we actually took a report where someone said before he got 5,000 Naira, he had to pay 500 Naira. So you can imagine people that want to get 100,000 and then paying 10,000, 10% of everything that you want to give, and that's it's really appalling. So before we leave this, actually, are we ready for cashless policy?
No, we are not. Absolutely not. Because what I have experienced I mean, if you experience difficulties in coping with the cashless policy in Abuja, you can imagine what somebody in Kogi will be experiencing. You can imagine what somebody in Zamfara will be experiencing. So I think that technology, as good as it sounds, we need to actually work towards ensuring its effectiveness, so that we don't, have it on paper, and then you go to some places, they don't even have ATM, what they call it, POS. And some people will tell you you transfer your money, and they say until they get it before you take your good, and you don't get to get it. So there's a whole lot of problem around it. I think that's one area that we really need to work on, so that the cashless policy can actually, take place.
All right, let's take our next story. Daily Trust this morning says federal government under pressure to probe herders killing in Nasarawa State. Magban says it is war crime, blames Otom, and then Otom on the other hand says my hands are clean. That's coming from the Benue government. Let's get your response, Richard Oriri. Because I know we talked about this a few days ago. Yes,
the herders killing. The story you just read there is about the airstrike.
Yes, the airstrike.
Nasarawa State. So Benue State government have distanced itself from the action.
Why are they blaming Benue State government?
I am still confused, because if there is an airstrike, we have a aviation ministry in this country. We have a department of government that are in charge of anything happening on the air, and they should know which aircraft that move within that region.
Okay, so we actually saw. Sorry, I had to butt in. We actually saw a report where some people started commenting, and then someone says, coming from the defense, they said they got an information from the states which was actually wrong, and then this happened in Nasarawa State, and then some other comments were saying that the herders, that's the killer herdsmen, that they moved from Benue to Nasarawa, so they were trying to kill them. That's why they had the airstrike. So we'd like to allay all of those talks.
The first thing we are supposed to unravel is who carried out the airstrike.
Or who made the directive?
You first of all have to the military they are saying that they are not the ones. So who carried it out? Until we get who carried it out, before that person will now say this is the person that invite. If it is the state government, if it is the national state governor that invite them to come for assistance, because even
possible,
they can call for assistance, and you cannot just call like that. You will even write to the president before the president will give approval, because there is a department under presidency for such security issue. Until president give that approval, they call them whether special force or something like that. Before president will give approval for them to go and carry out such a security strike. So now we have to first of all know who carried out that exercise, and once we know that, we will now know again who gave the directive. They cannot just go ahead blaming Benue State government. Benue State government, there's no how Benue State government will do that.
No, I think that where the blame is coming for the Benue State government was that how that thing happened. Some cows had been seized by the Benue State government.
The volunteer or what?
And so the Magaban people decided to go and pay the amount that they were asked to pay, so that they can take
their cattle
back. And so they paid it. It was on their way coming at the border that thing happened. So you can see their grievances with the Benue State governor.
But how many are these people that went to make this payment? How many are they? No. If it is payment, from what you said, they went to make payment to Benue State government for their cattle to be released to them. How many of them went to make this payment?
Trailers.
And why would they go in group?
No, normally,
Trailers. Why would they go in group? And this strike happened possibly in the night.
The people who died, not all of them
are Fulani herders.
Actually Fulani herdsmen. That's why I say it happened at the border. I listened to the position of the Nasarawa State governor, and he admitted that truly he had met the president at some point in time because he suspected that ISWAP people had infiltrated his state around Doma. So he admitted without, I listened to him, and he said it's possible that it was carried out by security personnel, and that the security personnel may not necessarily be the army, or because they have different this thing. That goes to the question of securing this country, where people are not sure
of who carried out the
how many days are this kind of thing?
They are just trying to fool us. Why would they say they don't know who carried out this?
So I think that they said their investigations are ongoing. I hope they come out with the clear position on this. But I think that there are grievances with the governor of Benue, Otom, was that if not that the governor seized their cow, particularly with that law that they have been fighting against, that wouldn't have happened. So it's not an accusation that he was directly responsible for sending the people who killed that and this, because indigents of Doma died. So whoever fell into that, this thing.
But is it actually right that we begin to profile, and then you had a lot of people that were killed, and why are we making it look like some set of people were killed?
You see, that's the politics that have destroyed conversations around issues in our country. And it doesn't have to just be about the Fulani herdsmen now. It's like you have a crime taking place in Edo, and the first thing that journalists or the press people will say is suspected herdsmen or suspected Fulani herdsmen. Or something happens in Kano, and then they say it is the Igbos, or so until we begin to address issues without sentiments, ethnic, religious, and political sentiments have constituted the greatest undoing of our nation. So this is one of the examples of trying to call a dog a bad name so as to hang it. Let investigations be carried out so that everything you are saying is based on evidence. And until we get to that point, we'll continue to blame people.
Blame games.
Exactly.
All right. So let's get your last word on this one. Do you actually see anything coming out from that investigation?
From what Doctor just said, that he held National State government admitting to the fact that he actually went to meet the president for assistance, suspecting, as the chief security officer of National State, suspecting that ISWAP, they are regrouping in some parts of National State. And if he actually went for such assistance, I think this airstrike must have come from Nigerian military. And if it has come from the Nigerian military, they should come out openly. If it is to apologize, they should apologize to Nigerians. Then they should equally give reasons why that airstrike had to take place and why it was a mistaken identity.
And the governor even said in that interview that he cannot say that some of those suspects were not part of those killed.
You understand?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, he said he cannot say so because it's unfortunate that maybe those who were coming.
That's a complete admittance.
Yes, that's a complete admittance. So that is possible that those who were coming, fell into that this thing and they became part of the victims. This is very important because on the long run we begin to also understand why the military has its hands tied. People cannot be mixing up with criminals cannot be mixing up with this thing.
But that's what it is.
Exactly.
You might actually be talking to someone not knowing that you're talking to a terrorist.
But at the end, if they are not the Nigerians killed now, if they are not criminals,
yes,
then on the other hand, the National State government who went to report to the president suspecting such thing can equally be taken up for it.
There's no false information. We have seen criminals acting in Nasarawa. So there's no false information as to criminalities going on across the country.
You have people who died.
You understand? Innocent people died in this. Now, if eventually, because the military has not admitted We are only saying that Nasarawa State governor gave his own side of the story, and all that he was saying was that he was still saying this so that people don't quickly say this must have come from thief people, and then they go and attack the thief people, there's like a reprisal attack. That this could have come from the security people. So let investigations be carried out, because there was a time where he went to the president, and that special forces have been operating not just in Nasarawa, in Niger, and that he confirmed from the governor when this happened that yes, operations are also taking place in Niger State. So you see, what the governor has done first was to come out and say, please let there be no reprisal attack from the Fulanis, to say that if this happened against Fulanis, then thief people must have been responsible.
In there, but we have to leave this story so we can take the last one before we let you go. So, but if we have to take this up in ICC, International Criminal Court, so who, even though we're still waiting for the military to give their own side to the story, so who would definitely be called culpable? Because these are human rights we're still talking about.
Yeah, it will be those who carried it out, and they have to investigate to identify those people. But having said that, worst things have happened in this country that nothing happened at ICC. You understand? So the politics of it is very important. I mean, if you go to the east now, the killings going on there. If you go to the northeast, where they have made mistake, and thrown this thing at even IDP camps. So a whole lot of things. Let's continue to see how our military can be very professional, how intelligence can be, accurate, so that they avoid all these mistakes.
All right, lastly, on Nigerian pilot says general elections close schools and allow students to vote. NANS tells federal government. So you have a lot of people asking, since these children, some of them did their registrations while they were at home, but now they're in school, are we supposed to be asking federal government to close the school so that they can go back home? And then you have some people who have decided to tag it as they are trying to stop the youth from voting XYZ particular candidates. What are your response to this, very quickly?
Yes, I think that the right thing to do is to allow people who have registered wherever to go and vote. If the schools decide to say, on the basis of insecurity and some other issues, okay, give 1 month break, that would be fine. There's always a cost-benefit analysis to every decision. So it's left for the vice chancellors, to actually examine the arguments of NANS and other stakeholders, and then take the right decision.
All right, let's get your last response.
It's the right of the students to exercise their political right by casting their vote for whoever will become the next president, governors,
what if they are
House of Rep members,
what if they're in school and then they registered at home?
That is why I said it's their right. What they are pushing for is not just issue of comradeship. It's about a constitutional right. They have the right to choose who becomes their president, their governor, their senator, their House of Rep member, their House of Assembly members. So, in that manner, the school system ought to, because there's no law guiding the school system that is above the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Even if government is not intervening, the school system ought to.
But if the school system decides not to close down, what's going to happen?
The students have the right to exercise that constitutional right of expressing their
in what way do they express it? They
can express it through the law court, and they can express.
How many days window do you have for this?
No. Not issue of how many. It is their right. It's their right. And you see Nigeria today. Count the number of universities, tertiary institutions in the country today, and calculate, put together all the students that will be in these schools. How many of them? They are out. Nigerian youth now constitute about 80-something, how many something percent voting population of the country. A majority of them are scattered all over. You are not in your state. In another state schooling, like me now. I'm a student of a Nile University. I will not be given that right. I'm a candidate again for election. Then I will not be given that right to go and exercise my right. Where my polling unit is in my ward. Well, I think that the system have to put everything, all of this together and say they are giving break. They give break during the Christmas period. They give break during Salah period. They give break during all of this festive period. Then this is a national issue.
I think that the schools will give. I'm a lecturer, so let me come in and say that I think that schools will give that break.
Maybe you're speaking for your school.
For any school. I mean, all schools. I mean, look at presidents. You know, we have seen that at every election, even 2019, the schools gave this thing. 2015, schools gave. So it's something that the schools normally do, with or without nuns coming out to say it.
Because you have also the INEC chairman has said his hands are tied. He cannot go meet schools and ask them or force them to close down for.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Because universities have always asked for autonomy, right? So you cannot. It's just the bad, system that we have. If not, you shouldn't ideally close down even a shop because elections are, being held. It's unfortunate that our elections in our own country have become a time of war. Elections in our country have become a time of chaos. So apart from the people even saying that let them go because of voting, because of insecurity also, because at that point there will be a lot of insecurities here and there. So people should go for the sake of safety also, not just for voting. Most of them who will leave may not even end up voting. But I think that the right thing, the appropriate thing to do is to give.
So how many days window are we now looking at? Because definitely you have some people who are already disgruntled, some candidates who are disgruntled and saying that we will hit the court if it is not
during COVID-19. Most Nigerian schools were on. How did they carry it on? They resorted to online.
So we're going to go.
Yeah, it's possible. I know of a school that will do online in that period.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Suleiman Barnabas, economist. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you to Richard Oriri, journalist. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's all we can take for the press. So sorry we could not take so many calls. Our time is really shortened today. Let's go straight to social media trend. And since we're talking about politics and elections, there's a particular video where in a particular Catholic church where you have they said no communion and no, if you don't have PVCs. Let's take that video and we'll come back to take more on social media trends.